Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so good, and thank you so much for coming. Honestly, this is so exciting to me because I've been following you for a while, and I find you so inspiring. I know we had a conversation before about how like our journey with the breakups and all those things that you're going to be talking about in a minute, like it was very close to one another, like everything was just happening like that, and it really inspired me to also break that chain for myself and get out of my relationship and be a little braver. And so first of all, thank you for that work that you do, because it's so necessary and I know it inspires so many people. It probably inspires you too. And so thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited too. I feel so honored that you follow me, that I guess there's something in my journey that resonates with you, and that's all I really wanted when I shared it kind of on the internet. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to talk and just talk with another person who's also sharing so much light and inspiration in the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. Oh my God. Okay, so I guess we can start with the beginning. In the beginning. Uh, sorry, that's an inside joke. Only my best friend will understand that. But yeah, so tell me about your story. Like, what made you start the journey of, I guess, what do you even call this journey, right? I don't know what you would label it as, but
Yeah.
how did it all start? Like what clicked for you? What made you like have feel that need to break the chain?
Yeah. So do you kind of mean it in terms of like when I was going through like the breakup or just like the social media in general or like the process?
In general, like what were the things leading up to that moment where you were like, I'm done. I need to change my life, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So it actually happened during COVID. I was a very different person on a very different track. I was working at a modeling agency, like scouting male models.
Wow.
And it was a very, very different, it's a very different industry, very, very difficult. And you had to be a certain kind of person. And I thought I was going to be like, this modeling agent, and I kind of suppressed a lot of my emotions and like my traumas so that I could be this very logical, like traditionally successful person. And then during COVID, a lot of things happened, and one of them was that I got laid off. And
Yeah.
in that time, I really reflected upon my life and who I was and where I was actually going. And I realized that I needed to heal and rediscover myself. I started therapy, so I guess almost 4 years ago now, in March of 2020. And that's where it all started. I started reading self development books, realizing I needed to change as a person. And then a year after I started therapy, I started posting my journey on social media. And I only started posting because I was scared to post. And I realized there was this point actually in on Christmas Eve of 2021. I had like a enormous mental breakdown, and
Mhm.
I like went to the ocean, and I there was a lot of darkness that I felt, and I realized that if I didn't change then like I didn't know if I was going to make it to 30. Um
Yeah.
so that's when I decided to really take it even more seriously. And that's when I posted my first series, 30, I think it was 21 Days of Conquering My Fears. And that led to
Hmm.
a bunch of other different series and journeys. And ever since then, I've kind of been on this journey of healing and just trying to push myself out of my comfort zone, not for anything, mainly because I wanted to live a full life.
Wow.
And that's where I am now. Yeah.
Love that, the way you just described that, because I mean, it's funny how a lot of people that I know that start this healing journey, they either like face a moment where it's like rock bottom, because it
Yeah.
usually takes you like that long to figure out like, okay, like I can't really go any further after this. But it's also like the space, like the silence. I was actually writing about this today, like it's so important to have moments of silence and space, and COVID really provided that for us, which was like suddenly you had to think, like you had nowhere else to go. Like, I mean, no one can scroll for that long, you know, eventually your thoughts, your emotions, all of that is going to caught up to you. And although it kind of sucks or it feels like that, it's really, really good because it allows us to finally go to that wound and be like, what the hell is happening here? And I love how you felt that urge to go to the ocean, because I find the ocean so cleansing. And it's also so intense, especially, I mean, it when yeah, it was winter, right? You said that was during
Yeah,
Christmas.
it was Christmas Eve. Yeah. Very
How it's
wild.
so cold. And it's
Yeah.
in New York. You were
So
in,
I was in San Diego,
oh,
but
okay.
I spent a year and a half in New York.
Yeah.
I was no, yeah, I moved to New York about a year after that.
Yeah,
But
because I was like, I don't know if there's like seaside in New York, so I was like getting confused.
oh yeah,
But okay,
there
okay.
is, but
There
it's
is.
yeah, yeah. I did a 21-day cold plunge challenge in the winter in New York, but
Oh,
it's it's a people don't go to the ocean really off season the way that they do in California just because of the weather. But
because it
here
sucks.
it's cold. It's really cold.
It's really cold. Like basically an ice bath. Like,
Yeah, it's cold. Yeah.
and how did that feel like when you first did it? Like, what do you remember the sensation that you were feeling? Like what you were thinking? Like, tell us about it.
About cold plunging
And
or
like the first time you did it when you entered into the water that day, like
on
did
Christmas?
something. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I surf very poorly, but I do surf. And it, I was going through really like dark things, and so I'll go to the ocean sometimes to find healing. But at the same time, like it was a storm happening at that time. It wasn't
Yeah.
a smart decision for me to go out when I did. Um, but in a way, like the crashing of the waves and I guess that chaos kind of mirrored my internal chaos, and there was a
Yeah.
sense of like peace of like feeling
Mhm.
like nature understood me. And the sun was setting and it was a really beautiful sunset. And then I came out and I felt at least understood by nature. I think nature is really healing. And water in the ocean is always something I come back to when I'm lost. So,
I love that. No,
yeah.
100%. Nature is so healing, and I wish more people like were putting themselves out there, like in the grass, hugging trees or something. It's so good,
Yes,
especially the ocean. I really love the ocean too. It's just like bodies of water in general give me a sense of like peace or something. It
absolutely.
just feels this like weird sense of love. It's hard to explain, but it's like presence. It's really nice. And yeah, so at that time you were still with your ex, right? Like when all of that started.
No, so I started dating him. So are you talking about in like Christmas Eve of 2020?
Yeah, like during those moments.
No, so I started dating him in 2021.
Oh, so it was after that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I went through many different kind of I think as someone heals, they go through cycles, right? They have one realization and then they change their life in a certain way. And then another realization they change their life in a type of way. And so I dated him when I was living in New York in 2021, and then we ended things in 2022. And after that particular ending, that was one that made me really realize that like from all the lessons that I've learned from my other cycles of realization and healing, that like now I had to take it another step forward even more. And so from that I started really figuring out what I wanted to do with my passions. I started doing about 6 months after 365 days of discomfort. which was a series that was really big on social media that really, really changed my life. Led
Mhm.
me to backpacking through Asia, realizing a lot of my dreams, all of that. So that was a very pivotal moment in that phase of my life.
Yeah. I mean, how was that, the process of your breakup? Because, I mean, I know I've seen a few posts about that before, like it was a long time ago, but I mean, it's always hard because, like you were saying, there's always like almost like a new level of healing, more depth into those wounds that you have, whether it's fear of abandonment or rejection or not really knowing who you are. Like, it's like the universe really pushes you to see more of about that. For me, it was really like, for example, feeling unworthy. And I'm always constantly on this almost spiral, and I'm constantly getting deeper and deeper into understanding it because there is always so much more depth to it. And every challenge that we face, it's kind of an opportunity for us to go there and really understand, like, okay, what is this, or what can I learn from this? And so having started that journey for you, like the healing journey, which is already such like a huge achievement because it's like it's the beginning of everything, really. Like that's when you start actually living, even through the challenges, even through the difficulties. Like that's when life really starts happening because now you're a little bit more conscious, a little bit more aware. And so after that, being in a relationship like that, I mean, I don't know exactly how it was, but at least the breakup, it was pretty painful for you from what I know. So how was that?
It was so painful and earth shattering. And
Mhm.
the thing is that it was my first true adult heartbreak. And I think that was why it was so rough. Like my last like real relationship that I was in, like it was like my almost like college love. And I was a very different person. And
Yeah.
as an adult, having gone through a lot, having lived in the world in a certain type of way and also gone on a healing journey to have like your heart hurt while also being self-aware of your traumas and like who you are and your path is wild because it's like I see myself like what you were saying, like I felt unworthy. I felt like this was the sign that I was not enough. Like
Yeah.
this person rejecting me says that I am not enough despite all the healing that I've done, despite all of the self-awareness I've collected. But it was also this experience where like I could see myself and I could see where this trauma was coming from. I could see why I was
Mm.
feeling the way that I was feeling. And so in this way, it was almost like, you know, when you clean your room, like sometimes it gets messy before it actually gets organized. Like that
Yeah.
experience really like made me dig into the skeletons of my closet about like how I felt about love and how I utilized love to validate my self-worth. And it made me realize that girl. And
Girl.
like and it's
I
it
do.
made me realize, especially my place as a woman in society, like that I was always craving this like I need to be loved in order to feel worthy. Even if I'm doing all things for self-love and all of these things, like I still need to be chosen. And the thing is like when you reach that place where like the person that you chose did not choose you, you are sitting there like frail and broken and alone. And you're like, if he is not choosing me, then I just have to choose myself. And then like you, it's almost like you're building yourself back up
Yeah.
from the bottom. And you're like, okay, all right, I feel unworthy because of this. Well, this is how I need to regain my power and find myself and love myself and love myself in a really pure way, not in the I'm going to love myself so that I can be good for someone else to come in and love me, but that
Mhm.
I will love myself because I deserve it, because I need to love myself the way that I poured myself into loving someone that clearly did not want to give it back to me, right? And so
Mm.
like to have your heart break as an adult is different, and the realizations are different, and the lessons that I took were different. You know, I think after things ended, you know, a lot of breakups or situationship breakups, like I wanted the revenge body or wanted like to do this and do that, right? Which is like totally valid, by the way. But I think
Mhm.
like here it was like it wasn't as much about who was like winning the breakup or whatever. It was about I need to I need to transform, and I need to reframe the way I see love. platonically self-love relationship. And that is what it changed for me. And I'm so happy it happened because it transformed me. And every heartbreak I've ever had has transformed me in a way, but this one was really special. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Damn. Damn, you said so many good things. First of all, I relate. I relate so much. It hurts, honestly. I feel like everyone listening probably relates too. It's like the last person I was with, which it wasn't even a relationship, but it felt more like a relationship than my previous relationships, but it wasn't at the same time. So like it really, really hurt because I felt like what you said about the need of being chosen. Like we're always chasing that. And it's like no matter what you do, you're never gonna find that in anyone else. Even if like someone does choose you, it's still not gonna feel like enough because you're always gonna question it because deep down you're not choosing yourself, you're not validating yourself, and you don't see yourself as worthy. And that journey is really tough because it really brings you to a very like core part of yourself, a very like innocent part of yourself even, which is like the inner child, the hurt that they felt when they were being abandoned for some reason, or they felt that way when they felt rejected, when they didn't get the love that they needed at a certain point. And that is so like raw, and it's really hard to go there. But these situations, although they kind of suck, they are kind of blessings at the same time because they really push you to realize like, oh my God, I've been on this journey, and yet like the way I'm reacting to this, or the way this all played out just shows me that there's still stuff to work in here. Like I'm still not at a point where I'm willing to lose that person in order to choose myself, or I'm still not at a point where like this person not choosing me does not make me think that it's because I'm not good enough. Like for so long after I realized, okay, this guy's not choosing me, I just kept thinking, but why? Why would you waste it? Like, why would you not choose me? Like, why? Like, what about me doesn't make you want to choose me? And he also like started kind of seeing another person in a situationship as well. So basically this boy is really scared of commitment. But basically it's like I just kept thinking, why would you be with her instead of me? And then something he said, I don't think I've ever shared this, but something he said that really pissed me off. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's cool that you're spiritual and blah blah, but like you guys are just different. I'm like, I'm spiritual? Like that's all you have to say about me? Like when you think about me, you think spiritual. What the fuck? And it really led me to like I needed to see what was special about me. I literally remember I wrote a list about all the things that were good about me, all the things that I recognize in myself. And I was like, I'm determined, I'm fierceless, I am funny, I'm this, I'm that. If you don't, if all you have to say is I'm spiritual, like fuck you, like for real. Because like, what is that? I'm much more than that. And it definitely led me to a deeper level of self-love, and it was really hard. Like I literally spent the last 8 months just processing that like it was over, that this person didn't choose me, and instead of just asking why, I really just had to be, but it is like I can't really change it, and I don't know. The truth is I don't know. I will never know because in my head it makes no sense. Like I'm awesome, come on. It's like doesn't matter, in that process of acceptance. It's basically just being okay with, okay, I'm not going to be chosen by everyone, but I get to choose me. And what does that look like now? What does choosing me look like? And so for you, that you were on that journey, like, after that breakup, what did you feel like what did you recognize in terms of where you weren't choosing yourself? Like what were the things that were coming to the surface and you were like, yeah, I need to do this, or I need to go this way? Like what were those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I felt unworthy, I would choose to like love, or I would choose dating, or I would go on Hinge. Like it was almost like a gut reflex, like, oh, I kind of hate myself. Let me go on like Hinge, or like let me do whatever, right? And I realized that after that breakup and that ending, that like I needed to fill the gaps within myself. Like there were things that I was avoiding by dating this person about myself. Like I think there were passions that I had that I didn't want to explore, or I was scared to explore, and so I filled it with like this person that I thought that I loved, instead of really exploring those passions. I had dreams. I had, like, as I said, like traumas that I had to deal with about my feelings of not being enough. And I, in the absence of that person, I just had to face it. And that was something that was such a blessing for me. And honestly, without that person, honestly, my career would have been completely different. I actually, I think here's, so like this guy was a chef, and he taught me. Here's the thing: is like a person that you care about or love can teach you something, even if they're no longer with you, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And he taught me to truly love food. And I took that knowledge and I realized that even without him, I truly loved food. And from there, I actually took all the knowledge that he taught me and I became a videographer for chefs. And like that became a career that I truly, truly loved for like a period of time when I was in New York City. And I found so much healing in food too, because I struggled with an eating disorder, and learning about food from him and then working with chefs, like it healed a part of myself that I had ignored for so long. And that like heartbreak healed a part of myself that I had ignored. And that was so beautiful for me. And when I, afterwards, I backpacked through Asia, and I purposely like traveled through Asia, like so that I could heal my relationship with food in one sense. Like I lived on a farm, and like I understood the spirituality and the beauty of food. And I never would have done that without that heartbreak. So it's like there are things that I took from that to heal myself. And I think that's such a beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree, because I mean, sometimes when we're so focused on what's happening to us, we don't understand that it can also create a lot of opportunities. I feel like that's something that really shifts whether you're like growing or whether you're becoming stagnant in your life, or you're just repeating cycle after cycle, loop after loop without really understanding like where the fuck you're going, right? And something I feel like that really changes that is being like, okay, like what did I learn with this person? And taking everything as a learning opportunity. Because for me, I also feel like this person really helped me heal in a lot of ways. Like he showed me that men could be better, although he still wasn't the person for me, but he still showed me that men could be better, that like not all men sucked. Because that was my belief before that. I mean, my ex was pretty bad, And my dad, I also had a very bad relationship with him when I was younger. And so it was like that was my predefinition, let's say. And having that experience with him made me realize like, whoa, like what else am I not seeing that is out there for me? And actually like since then I've been meeting a lot of great people, a lot of men that are really amazing. And because now my mind is open to that. And also like he helped me learn to love my body a bit more. It's also been a journey for me for a long, long time. And and yeah, he just allowed me to accept myself a little more. He allowed me to like have an other perceptions. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have done so many things. Like this year I spent the summer in Italy. I only did that because I was kind of trying to get away and I wanted to have a new experience. I was like, damn, I cannot stay in this city. Like everything reminds me of him. I'm getting super sad. I just want to do something different. I want to do something for myself, something that excites me. And so I went, and it was such a great experience that also healed me in a lot of ways. And so everything becomes an opportunity. And I think that's really beautiful, like honestly. Right?
Yeah, like sometimes things happen to you, but they also happen for you, you know?
Yeah.
And that, like what you said, like you don't realize the lessons that you learned or the opportunities that you take after this experience that can actually help to grow you. Like that's so great. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it's amazing that you became a videographer. Like that's probably something you would have never thought of like before, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you know, oh, sorry, go on.
yeah, no, that's fine, that's fine.
Every person really has something to teach you, even if they're people that break your heart or people that hurt you. Every person has lessons and stories. And I think when you're dating and when you know, you break up or whatever, like I met this man, I remember, I don't know if I remember this quote, but when I was traveling in London, I think, or Paris.
Mhm.
It was Paris,
Yeah.
and I went to this bookstore and I met this poet, and she said this phrase that I literally have not forgotten, and it's been 10 years now. But she said, love is never wasted, even if it doesn't last. And I think that's something that really, really touches my heart because it's like
Yeah.
many of us love and many of us lose that love. But love is still a beautiful thing because we are alive. And the blessing to love, to feel that deeply, is something that humans are blessed with. And that hurt is terrible. But in a way, it's poetically beautiful because
Yeah.
without love and pain and the highs and lows, you know? So,
Mhm. Yeah. 100%. And in the way that love does last forever because it just ripples onto your life in so many ways. So like it is eternal in a way, just not physically to your like perception.
absolutely. And you know, like, and this is what I learned also through this healing journey is like, you are your most epic love story, your relationship with yourself, your love story with yourself. And so, like, a lot of this healing journey that I've experienced in the last 3, 4 years now is learning that the greatest romance, the greatest love story, the greatest love that I could give is to myself. And that when my cup is full, I can love more deeply the people around me when I love myself, right? Like that love is not selfish. It is the key to loving people and loving life as intensely and as purely as one would want, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I think that's
That's amazing. No, I totally agree. I feel like people don't understand the importance of having that relationship with yourself. And suddenly when you go through those moments, you're like, who do I have besides me, right? Like, because you have other people, but the truth is no one can really like go there. Like even your therapist, because you said you were in therapy, not even they can do that work for you. Like ultimately, you have to dig in and you have to like to face that shit, you know? And it's something that no one else can do for you. And you know, facing that is an act of love. It's the biggest act of love that you can give yourself.
oh yeah, absolutely. Like love isn't just in the same way that, you know, when you're in a relationship with someone, it's not just cute dates and like movie nights. It's having hard conversations and getting to know each other's not so pretty shit and like getting through that and learning how to deal with conflict in a healthy way. Like that's also love. In the same way when you love yourself, it's about facing the hard shit. It's about facing the traumas. It's about dealing with things that you don't really love about yourself and trying to see what you can work on with yourself or how you can love the parts of you that aren't as beautiful as you perceive it to be. And
Hmm.
that's love. Self-love.
Yeah. And that love changes everything, right?
Everything. It changes everything for sure.
What did it change for you?
I mean, I think like it's the lens in which you see the world. I think like when you and I'm still learning self-love every single day. Like I'm definitely better
Literally.
than I was 3 or 4 years ago, but I definitely have a lot to learn as well. But I think like I felt for a lot of my life I was begging the world to validate me as a worthy person, whether it be through relationships or through family. And I think there's a fine line where it comes to that because it's like you need validation, you need love from the people close to you. But I think when you slowly learn to find a home within yourself and find that
Mhm.
love within yourself, you become a light and you can travel any place and you can be with any person and be the light, and there's power and empowerment in that and safety in that instead of,
Mhm.
I think, driving around looking for the light. You learn to find it within yourself. And I think that was something that changed my perspective. Like when I make friends or when I go about my day, you know, I'm not searching as much as discovering. And I don't know if that makes sense
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah, no, I think I understand what you mean. It's
you
like
know?
it's not something that you're searching externally. It's more like, how do you explain that with words? Like I
Oh, I don't
feel
even know. Yeah. I mean, and okay, here's the thing too, is like I'm excited to be alone. That's I think one thing about self-love that also is really great is like you realize that like your own inner world is amazing. It's beautiful, it's powerful.
yeah,
Like journaling can become an incredible experience. Like you are when you realize like you are incredible, it's like dang, like what else can I explore about myself? Like what fun hobbies, like what passions do I have? Like when I'm alone, like I just get to spill that all onto the floor and like be that. And that's so exciting because like you only have one life and this person that lives within you has multitudes. And that's amazing. The more you love yourself, the more you see the multitudes of self. And it's so it's
yeah.
poetic.
I think it just clicked for me. Like, searching is it's much more a feeling of like almost the need to like look for something or find something, whether and then discovery, it's kind of like allowing things to just happen and like
Yes.
with the flow and being like, okay, this thing is coming up within me and exploring as it kind of passes through you, if that makes sense. So it's
Yes.
not something you're like looking for. You're not looking for blah blah. You're not looking for love. You're like discovering it within yourself. You're like, yeah, you're just living life from that little bubble, I guess, instead of being like, okay, where's this? Where's that?
Yeah, yeah, it's less frantic and more, I guess, exciting. And that is literally exactly it. And you just see life differently. Like
Yeah.
literally the colors just look different.
Yeah. So before you were like, you said that you were battling depression, right?
Still am, but in a
Well,
different.
okay. Well, how much has it changed for you, like, since then? Like, because obviously it's something hard for everyone, and I know that maybe a lot of people listening have struggled with that or still do. And so it's like I want them to understand this perception of someone that still struggles with depression from a place of like how much it actually changes to do this work and to go through this journey, right?
It's so it's been a battle and it's
Mhm.
not easy. But in the time since I first started going to therapy, from when I was heartbroken, from all of those times, I've gotten a lot better. The thing is, and this is what I made a determination about when I first got diagnosed 4 years. I knew I had depression 12 years ago, but I got actually diagnosed and went to therapy 4 years ago. And the thing is that I promised myself that I would still allow myself to have the life that I wanted, even if I would be depressed, even if I had to fight harder than everybody else. I wanted to have a beautiful life. And that's something I made a promise to myself.
Yeah.
And it's been ridiculously hard. Ridiculously. I think I still struggle with depression. Before my depressive episodes lasted a month, 2 months, 3 months. I would my room would be so bad for so long. I would barely be able to get out of bed for weeks. Now my depressive episodes last a couple days. If not, like I wouldn't know if I would even call it a depressive episode. It would last like an hour, a couple days, a day, a week at longest. You know, I I remember my first ever therapy session. My therapist asked me to make a bucket list, and I hated myself so much. I couldn't even make a bucket list because I didn't feel like I deserved to have dreams.
Wow.
And yeah, I hated myself.
Yeah, same.
It's so bad. It's ridiculous, when you become
Yeah.
your own worst enemy. But now I have a bucket list like on my wall. Ignore the laundry. Oh, you can't see it. It's a bucket list right there, and
Wow.
it has 100 things on the list, and I've crossed off like 12. And I backpacked through Asia. I moved to New York City. I worked with like these people that I really admire in my life, and I still did it with a lot of depressive episodes. I still did it struggling with my self-worth, and I'm still struggling with my self-worth. But
Mhm.
every day it gets better. But
Yeah.
won't heal overnight. You have to go through the highs and lows. I've gotten here, and then I've had a depressive episode that brought me to here, and then I went up here and had another depressive episode that brought me to here. But the thing is that the reality is you'll have to fight harder than most people, like when it comes to being able to get up, to clean your room, to deal with success and happiness, like while most people just cruise through that stuff. And that's the reality. It's just going to be hard. And once you realize and like deal with the fact that maybe it's not fair, but you have to fight it anyways, and you have the capability to fight, then if you just take one step forward every day, no matter how hard it is, and even get back up, even if you're down, even if you didn't get out of your bed for 2 weeks, just keep trying. And
Yeah,
that's
because every day is a new chance for you to make it, for you to
every,
like get out.
absolutely. I literally got a tattoo. Like I got a tattoo that says 365 because I mean, at my end of my 365-day journey of 365 days of discomfort, like my philosophy is that every day you wake up, you have the opportunity to change your life. Every year you have 365 days, 365 opportunities to change. Even if yesterday you felt like shit, you didn't do anything, like, or you whatever, you made mistakes. Today is a new day. Like you get that chance. This is your
Yeah,
opportunity, like the world is in your hands. No matter how you feel, you have the opportunity to change, and you can change. That is also philosophy, is like you can change no matter what you're going through. If you have depression or like a chronic illness or whatever, like
exactly.
you have the
Yeah.
opportunity, like I never thought, like when I first experienced my first depressive episodes at 18, did I think that at this point in my life that I would be like talking about my mental health and trying to do these like wild challenges and showing them on the internet and like backpacking through Asia and doing all these things? No, I had absolutely no faith in myself. But like you can change, I'm so passionate about this because I didn't think so, but I've seen people who have. I've done it myself. And even if it's one step, that's one step more than yesterday.
Exactly. No, I love that. Like that just lit me up because it's like you can change. I feel like that's the message that people just need so badly, especially if they feel conditioned by their mental health, by their depression, by their anxieties, by their fears, by their limiting beliefs, by their physical body, whatever it is. Because there is someone that is struggling with the same things as you are, and they're still creating something, right? So then you start understanding that your conditions can only condition you to a certain extent, but you are able to like overcome those things to a point where you continue to live your life and you continue to make your dreams come true and you continue to like to believe that I deserve to live as a regular person. I deserve to live and enjoy myself. And it doesn't matter if I have anxiety. Like, I'm sure that there's maybe people that do public speaking and have a lot of anxiety, but they've learned to overcome that because they suddenly realize, like, this is my life we're talking about. Am I just going to waste it and be like, yeah, I have anxiety and that's it? Like, no, you get to make it. And I think that's something that I love. It's like you get to make it. I love that verb. You get to do things. Like you get another opportunity every day. You get to wake up and try. You get to like learn with your mistakes. Those are all opportunities that we have. And I just feel like you're so brave for doing what you do and like putting yourself out there and sharing your experience so vulnerably, by the way, which is something that I really admire in you. It's like it's no bullshit. Like you cry, you don't worry about being pretty and looking like hot and blah blah. You're just like being real. And I love that because people need that. Like I need that, Like everyone needs that in the world. And it's so beautiful because kind of like you were saying, at some point you thought that you were worth nothing. Like you hated yourself. I hated myself too so much. Like I really didn't believe I could make it. I remember I looked into my future. I tried to like visualize something and all I could see is like me living under a bridge, like being very miserable, working at McDonald's. And I was just like, I don't see myself being capable of having a career or making it in life. I didn't see that. And the fact that you go from having complete disbelief in yourself and like not having any self-worth, not having any sense of like power or strength within you, and suddenly like fast forwarding to now where you're doing this challenge of stepping outside of your comfort zone every day for a year, which is pretty hard. Like literally, it's like, wow, like congratulations, first of
Thank
all.
you.
But how was that? Like what made you think about that in the first place? Because that's like brave, like deciding to do that. It's like, damn.
It was crazy. I think about it now and I'm like, girl, that was crazy. Like the thing is, I mean, first of all, is like um just to continue on what you were saying, there's just this one phrase that I just wanted
Yeah.
to say is like where you are does not dictate where you're going to be. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just like whatever you are, wherever you are in life, it does not mean that that is where you're going to be forever. That's just your baseline. Like that's just you have everything to go upwards from here. And that's really exciting. And that's how I viewed my life really because like a lot of my friends right now are on very more traditional paths. Like they have, like my best friend is getting married and like has a house, and most of my best friends have that. And they have very traditional careers, and they've kind of, I feel like they figured it out before I could even learn how to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's okay. Like I learned to get out of bed. That's freaking awesome because that's not who I was 4 years ago. Like
Uh-huh.
let me tell you. And so yeah, I just wanted to say like that's the philosophy that I live by when like I feel like I'm struggling. Like this is not where I'm going to be forever. This is just where I am right now. And so in regards to stepping out of my comfort zone, I think whenever I think like I think when I started that challenge, I looked at my life and I was like, I'm a very scared person, first of all.
Mhm.
Like, I have so many fears. Like, my family and my friends can't really relate as much with me on this one. And it's definitely a depression, anxiety thing. But I
Mhm.
have so many fears, and that's kept me and sabotaged me from so much. And despite the fact that at that point, I had done a lot of things that I was really proud of, I knew I was capable of more. And I think that's a thing. I knew I was capable. I wasn't, I haven't, I think like I knew I had a lot of talent and a lot of skill, but I had more fear than talent and skill.
Mhm.
And so I, I was really lucky when I was living in New York City at the time, and I had a lot of friends who were very like extroverted and very fearless, and like they were just people that I admired, that were just willing to do things, talk to strangers. Like they were people that I aspired to be. And so I realized that if I wanted to be the person that I'm seeing, that I'm envisioning, that like I want to be, I have to get out of my comfort zone, because my comfort zone is still like hiding in the shadows, staying small, like not showing up to the world. And so what I had learned, and this is how I function in growth, is like taking a small step every day. That's why I did 21 days of conquering my fears. I think I did 30 days of facing my fear of failure. And with every day I felt more and more brave. But the thing is like consistently over time is where I felt like real change would happen. So if I did 365 things every day for a year, who knows where in the world I would be. Like I was just genuinely curious. I was like, if I really pushed myself for a year, what would happen?
I
And
love
I was
it.
like, why not? Why not? And so I did that in November of 2022, and I ended it recently in November of 2023. And in that time, I did some of the wildest shit I've ever, like, for me it's wild. Maybe for some people it's not, but for me it was. Like I moved from Brooklyn to Manhattan, and I had a little friends kind of experience like in the show, living with all of these friends in New York. And then I quit my job that I thought I loved, but I realized and I knew in my heart I didn't fully love. And so I quit that, and I backpacked through Asia, and that was the scariest thing. I did so many things out of my comfort zone, but that was 6 months into my challenge, and it took 6 months of me doing things out of my comfort zone slowly but surely to get the courage to backpack through Asia.
Mhm.
Like, I was still learning to like get out of bed and still learning how to like talk to strangers and do all these things before I had the courage to take that big step. And so that really redefined my life. And
Mhm.
then I did quite a few other things, but at the end of the day, after I finished this challenge, I realized that there was one thing that I knew about myself after this challenge, is that I was brave. And whenever I doubted myself, whenever I was in my low period, I you know, my negative thoughts are very logical. So if I share like, hey, if it tells me I'm not brave, I say, hey, I did 365 things out of my comfort zone for a year. I am brave. These are all the things I did. I am brave. It was almost this proof that I had to show
Yeah.
myself. And that is what changed me. So no matter what, I know that I am brave and I can channel that whenever I feel weak.
Wow. Damn, girl. He really said it. That was
Yeah.
beautiful. Oh my God. Like, that's a lot to unpack. Okay, so it's like what you said just now about the having the proof that you are brave. That's really important. I think that's what builds self-belief, and something that I talk a lot about is like learning to show up for yourself, learning to like do certain things and push yourself a little, even if it's in the smallest ways, because it does create proof. It creates self-trust that you can rely on yourself, that you can count on yourself to push through whenever it's necessary for your highest good. And like it really kind of takes away this like limit that you have of who you can be and who you can become. Suddenly you're like, okay, I can do all these things. I've challenged myself for a year. But even if you didn't do that for a year, like if you're listening and you've done that in smaller ways, like you decided to make new friends that day, or you talked to that one stranger, or you like got out of bed one day that you didn't feel like it, or you took a shower, or you finally set the boundary with someone, like all those small things, like they repeatedly, like the more you do them, the more you feel brave enough to do them. And so eventually you start doing them and you're like, okay, this is getting easier and easier. And then there's like harder things to do. And then you believe, okay, if I can do this, maybe I can do that too. And so you continue to challenge yourself, and without noticing, you start becoming someone that you never thought you could be. And for me, that's also been like a big thing this year, actually, like realizing like, damn, I'm really brave. Like I've done things that I never thought I would do. Like I'm pushing myself. I sing and I decided that I want to go to The Voice this year. That's like yeah.
Wait, to try out for The Voice?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank
Oh
you.
my God, that's so exciting. Oh my goodness.
Actually, it's been crazier than that. It's been on my mind because, like, if I do that, and even if I don't make it, I don't care. Like, just the fact that I'm doing that. Because when I was younger, I got rejected. When I was like really young, I went to some auditions, I got rejected, and I kind of like stepped away, like I decided, okay, this is not for me. Like, I'm not talented enough, I'm not good enough, but I've always loved singing. I write songs, I want to make that a thing. Like, this is a vision that I have. It's like to create what I'm already doing, like doing the podcast and all those things, but also having like my Spotify with my songs, like people listening, all of that. I know.
That's so exciting. Oh my God.
It is. And I was just like, because I've always been obsessed with singing shows, like all of them. But my favorite one is The X Factor. And I had this crazy idea. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but I know I want to make it, which is going to The X Factor in the UK, like the original one.
Do it.
Simon
Oh,
Cowell.
that would be wild. Oh my God. You have
Yeah,
to try out. Oh
I
my
have
God.
to, because I feel like I will regret it. And that's also the thing. Like, regret is not worth it. Everything you do outside of your comfort zone, like it's, even if it doesn't go super well, at least you're like, oh my God, but I did it anyways. Like I did it. I pushed myself a little, and it creates this like so much confidence and self-belief that allows you to like continue to create a bigger life for yourself in every way. Because then you're not limited by what you think you can be, like by the perception that you have of yourself. And you're like, okay, how much more can I push it? I was talking to you the other day about like having that roof, right? Like you have that perception of yourself, and like you can only go like this far, and you do something that is a bit more uncomfortable, and suddenly like, okay, I can go a little further. But then the more you do it, it's like you start using that as an exploration, and I'm sure that's kind of how you did it. Like suddenly you're like, okay, if I can do this, like what else can I do? And suddenly it's just like, wow, I imagine that, the older version of you would be like, who's this girl? Like, who's this
Oh,
woman?
yes, absolutely. Yes, it's so wild. It's so wild how like you're limiting, like your thoughts can define your life, both positive and negative. Like
Yeah.
limiting beliefs are so powerful because they limit you
Yeah.
and they limit your potential. Despite you can be the most talented person in the world, but if you don't believe that you can do it and you don't take those actions, you'll never do it. But if you believe that you can do something and you push yourself a little bit, like yeah, if you push that limit, that roof on what you think your potential is, you do realize like your life can be completely different. And then once you realize that, it just becomes a whole nother thing because you're like, what truly is the capability of my life?
Yeah.
Like it's endless and it's terrifying. And I think a lot of people, and I think for me specifically, why I had such limiting beliefs is because it was predictable. So that like I knew where my life was going to be in a way that like that safety of being small and that predictability and being able to visualize that so that there was nothing that I couldn't predict.
Yeah.
It was safe, but it was sad because like I restricted my own growth, right? But when
Yeah.
you break that ceiling, girl,
Yeah. Like what you said just now, it's like you wanted to stay safe. I think that's all something we want to do. That's why it's called the comfort zone, because we want to stay comfortable. And to a certain extent, it is good to have that comfort because it also allows you to heal in many ways. Like I needed my comfort zone to do some like healing work that was more internally uncomfortable, let's say. But like that comfort zone creates the safety, and you kind of predict. The truth is you can never really predict, but you feel like you can predict how things can happen, and that creates a sense of like, okay, then let me stay here because at least I know what's going to happen, and so I can stay safe within these limits. And the thing is, although that's kind of nice, then there's this big desire within you, because the truth is our spirit, like our soul, knows there's so much more, like our heart desires a lot, and it's not a coincidence. Like it's not a coincidence that I want to sing. It's not a coincidence that you want to explore yourself more and more. It's because there is like a calling there, and it's for a reason. And something that I believe is that like the universe is constantly expanding. Like we know that the infinite of the universe is becoming more infinite more and more, right? And I think us are like we are expanding too every single time. Like our souls are expanding. Like everything about the universe is about expansion, evolution, transformation, right? And so like there is this kind of natural like pre thingy, I don't know, default setting in our soul of wanting to expand, wanting to like break free, wanting to like, yeah, just like open up more and more, because that's who we are. And so we stay comfortable, but then we feel dead on the inside. That's just the truth, because we're not alive.
yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you so much like
Yeah.
about your soul constantly wanting to expand. I never thought about it that way, but it's
Yeah.
true. Like there's something within like me, within you, like there's something that just wants to break open. And if
Yeah.
you stop putting the chains on that feeling, it's terrifying, but it's the most beautifully liberating experience.
It is so terrifying.
But
Like we get it, it's like it is terrifying because you have no idea what the fuck is gonna happen. It's
you
like
know,
it's the feeling of, okay, I can become very big, and you start to understand that that's possible for you. But then that thought alone scares the shit out of you. It makes you want to run the other way, because it's like how big are we talking? Like, what do you mean? You know?
can you give me a breakdown, girl? Like
Like
it's
what are the
wild.
steps? Like
Like how can I like prepare myself? But it's just you everything you've ever wanted lives on the other side of fear. Like that's truly something that I believe. And it's like if it scares you, that's good. Like life is too short to not take up space. And I there's this graduation quote by or this graduation speech by Denzel Washington that I literally listen to every day.
Yeah.
And he says this
Have to
thing where
give me
it's
the details. What's the name of
it's
the speech?
so good. It's I don't remember what it's called, but it's literally called Denzel Washington graduation speech. You can Google it.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's there's this phrase that haunts me, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't know the exact words, but it's imagine the ghosts of all of your unfulfilled potential, all of the dreams you never fulfilled, all of your talents you never used, and they're standing around your deathbed asking you, we were here so that you could bring me to life, but now we're going to die and we have to die with you. And it is that concept, that fear of that moment on my deathbed that keeps me going,
Yeah.
because one, I feel very blessed. I think I have these opportunities, and I live in this generation as a woman where I
Mhm.
can chase these big dreams.
Yeah.
And at this point, my only restriction is myself. And in the moment of my death, when I think about what I've done and where I've gone, I don't want to feel the ghosts of who I could have been
Yeah.
surround me. And that is what drives me a lot of the time. And fear
Yeah.
is scary, fear is terrifying, fear is painful. But the fear of not becoming who you could have been is gut wrenching.
Yeah.
And that is something that drives me. And
You
I
know, I
feel,
actually I feel the same way. Like a lot of the times when I'm like, should I do this? Should I do that? And I'm like, I feel this sense of will I regret it if I don't? Like even if it like doesn't go well, but will I regret it? And I think sometimes fear can be helpful in that sense of like some fears can drive you. Like my fear of staying and settling for my past relationship drove me to leave because I was like, imagine turning into my parents and becoming someone that I would hate to be. Imagine like the level of like self-hatred that I would have to continue to be in to accommodate myself in this situation that is so harmful to me. So it's like that fear of staying drove me to leave. And the fear of regret, the fear of exactly like being on my deathbed and thinking about, you know, looking back and thinking about what I did in life and all the missed opportunities, you know, every time I was complaining about something or, you know, blaming someone else or just feeling like, oh, I can't do it, I can't do it. And suddenly I'm like, well, I didn't even try, you know? And I would rather like die trying and never make it anywhere than just accept that I won't at all. Because I don't want to live like that. Like I this is something so important to me. It's like I want to live a life worth living.
mm,
And that means pursuing the things that I love, pursuing things that I care about, that genuinely like light my soul, that genuinely speak to me directly. Not just things because, oh yeah, I have to go this way. I guess I have to do this. People tell me this is the right way. Like, no, I want to do things because it truly makes sense to me, like in my heart.
mhm.
And it's scary.
It's scary, but that is so beautiful, because I think being true to yourself and to your soul, and like being willing to take those risks is terrifying, and it takes so much bravery,
Yeah.
you know, and facing a lot of fears that a lot of people have, fear of failure, fear of whatever, you know, like, but there is bravery in that. And this is again from this like graduation speech, is like it's failing forward. Like whether you know, whatever you do, you're taking these risks and moving forward. Whether you succeed or you fail, you're moving forward by taking those risks, and you're creating this life for yourself. And whatever the result are, like it does matter, but it also like the fact that you did it, the fact that you face that fear, that builds the muscle, whether you get what you want or whether you don't, you know, and that will help you in your next phase of life, in your next dream, your next goal. Having that mindset will take you whatever direction that you're meant to be in. And it's that mindset of bravery and facing your fears that can change your life. I completely
Yeah.
agree.
And you build resilience with all of that.
Yes,
Like you just
resilience.
become more capable of facing adversity, of facing challenges, of facing your fears. Like it's always scary. You continue to move forward, it's gonna continue to be scary. It doesn't matter what stage in life you are. Like if you think that your problems are gonna go away because you have everything you've ever wanted, that's not true. Like there's always something,
There's always
something.
something. You know, your problems never go away. They just change. Like
Yeah.
no matter what phase in life. And I think there's something comforting oddly in that it's like, you'll never not have problems, whether
Mhm.
you're a kid in grade school struggling with like a math test or you're an adult trying to figure out your dreams and pay your bills and find love or whatever. There will always be
Mhm.
problems. So it's like, what mindset are you going to go into every phase of your life? That's something that you can control. And that's where the power is, you know? And that's
Mhm.
where the life mindset and like perspective shift goes.
Wow. So what do you think were like kind of like really in a very like quick way, but what were like the three biggest things that you learned throughout this year with doing really uncomfortable things and pushing yourself? Like, what would you say were like the biggest like aha moments or biggest realizations about yourself or the world?
Yeah, so the first one is you are stronger than you think. It's a common thing, but it's only common because it's true.
Mhm.
Is there are things that you think you're not strong enough to do, and I promise, like most of the time, at least like I could say for myself, like you are strong enough to do this. Like I was terrified of so many things. Like I mentioned, I lived on a farm for a week. I'm a city girl. I was bit by mosquitoes every day. Didn't think I could do it. I did it. I did a silent meditation retreat in the mountains. I hate being alone with my thoughts. I did it. And there's so many things that I did that I in previous versions of myself never thought I could do, but I did. And it's like your belief in your own capabilities are so much stronger than you think. And when you develop faith in yourself, that is when you can go further than you ever thought. And that's something that I mean I have to keep in mind right now because dang, I forgot that I did all those things and I'm realizing it now. And I think, the second one, let me think. I think the second lesson that I learned is that your life is determined by your perspective. And
Mm.
that's a really big thing is that at the points when I had faced the largest amount of fears, the way that I saw life was full of possibilities and full of excitement. And I realized that the world is the same. The world was the same at that time than it was for me, 6 months prior when I hadn't faced all these fears. But it's all about perspective. And if you change your perspective, the colors of the world could change. What you think your capabilities in life could change. Even how you see every day that you wake up, it can change. And, you know, I think the world is filled with magic, and your magic wand is your perspective. And when you can
Wow.
control your perspective, you can change the way you see the world and the way that you exist in the world. And you could change the world and have the world change you. And that's the thing is that life is a magical place. It just depends on the way that you see the world, right? Like the fact that I say this a lot because I'm freaking in love with sunrises and sunsets. The fact that we live in this world that turns to rainbows like every morning and every night, that like before the sun says goodbye, it gives off a light show and then it disappears and then these sparkly motherfuckers come out and then the moon that changes every night just gives us
Yeah.
a light show. That's magic. That's
Yeah.
pure magic, right? And like the fact that there are these like birds that fly across the sky, that's magic. And so
Mhm.
that's something that I've really tried to learn is to find magic in the world because we only live one life. So it's like if you change your perspective, every day can be freaking life changing, man. Like my aunt passed away a couple years ago, and I think one of the things that made me realize the beauty of sunsets is that my other aunt, she told me that before she passed away, she, even though she was weak, she wanted to get out of the hospital and see just one more sunset, and to see the world that way, to see that there are people who crave just one more of something beautiful.
Yeah, literally. And it's something that literally happens every day, and yet like it's magical every single day. Like I love sunsets. And when I was in Italy, I used to like sunset gaze. I would just stare at the sky until like the sun went away. I'm like, this is the moment like I live for, you know?
Exactly. I mean, what's crazy is that people don't do that, is that we act as if we're going to live forever by not acknowledging the small pieces of magic in our day-to-day lives, you know? The
Mhm.
one thing that's inevitable is death, and in that way there's a liberation that have the ability to soak in every day of what it is to be alive. So, yeah, that's my second lesson. And then
I love that.
yeah, it's one of my favorites. And I think, I mean, the last one, and I've said this before, but I guess I just want to say it again, that it's like where you are does not define where you're going to be. But
Yeah.
also at the same time, it's okay to oscillate, to go through highs and lows. Like,
Mhm.
to know that like where you are is not where you're going to be. And even if there are days where you feel like you're back at the beginning, you're not. Like,
Yeah,
you're,
for
it's
sure.
okay to take steps back, take steps forward, take steps back. But know that like if you make a decision to change, change will be slow. But if you do it every single day, you'll wake up and, like we talked about, like you won't recognize yourself. And that's okay. Like, this is the fourth one, because I just want to say this because I realize this is my therapist, is like
Yeah, go.
you also have to be willing to let go of how you've defined yourself and who you were, like in order to embrace who you're going to be. I still, in my mind, a lot of times think I'm this like 8-year old, helpless, misunderstood kid that was always told they were too emotional, cried too much, and like there was something innately wrong with them. And I carry that belief with me. And I realized lately, despite the fact I've done all these things, I still oftentimes feel like that little girl. And I was
Mhm.
talking to my therapist, and she's like, you need to let go of that identity in order to embrace the person that you are, the person that people see you as, because it will be hard to change if you don't let go of that. You are not that person. You are not
Yeah.
that person. And like, you gotta look yourself in the eye, like, look at all this shit you've done and realize that you are changed. And that's okay. And that's beautiful. So,
Hmm. I love that. It's like you can't allow past versions of you to hold you hostage.
like, you can appreciate them and know that like they helped you survive in that phase of your life.
Hmm.
But now you can lovingly let them go so that you can embrace a new identity that can help you survive and live in this current phase.
Yeah. And continue to move forward instead of staying in that in that.
We're always in a state of metamorphosis as people, like, and that's the beautiful thing. Like, nothing is permanent ever
Hmm.
in your identity and who you are. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very transformative year. I suggest anyone do it. It's really challenging, but very,
Hmm.
very life.
Yeah. Do you feel proud of yourself?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I even just talking to you about all this made me remember things that I've done that I've actually like not thought about in a little while.
Mhm.
So yeah, it I feel super proud. Like, life is limitless. And when you do
Mm,
those kind of challenges, you realize that. So yeah.
man, that was beautiful. So happy we had this conversation. I do feel like we just went for a full circle with it. Do you want to like share anything else that you've realized over the years that you want to share right now?
I mean, I think just like a final thing is like, I think that the most I've been on this healing journey for 4 years, and I think one of the things that I would say to like anyone listening, someone who wants to like go on this journey, is like the hardest part is just beginning, is
Yeah.
just starting the journey. And like, don't, not even don't be afraid, because I know it's scary, but feel the fear and do it anyways. Like, take one step and then take another step, and know that it's going to be scary and you're going to see some shit that's not great, but know that you have the strength to move forward. And on the other side of all of that is the person you've always wanted to be and the life that you've always wanted to live. So keep pushing, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's like, you were saying back then that you admired all your friends for like being more like outgoing and doing all these things, talking to strangers. And now look at you, like you have become all the little things that you admire about them. It's crazy how that happens. I remember like I was still with my ex at the time, and I was at this park with them, with him and his friends. And I saw this girl. She was just there alone, sitting in the grass and painting. And I look at her, I'm like, wow, this is such a vibe. Like I love it. I wish I was her. And and fast forward to now, I'm the person that goes alone to a park that like paints, or I've even played ukulele like outside with other people passing by and just singing and like kind of scared, but I'm like, I did it anyways. And suddenly you realize like no one cares. And you start doing all these things, and it's like, wow. It was like something that I want to say before we go is also this is why it's also so important to have people around you that you admire, that inspire you, because it really helps you at least understand, like, if you admire something in someone, it's because you get to be that too. And because there's a calling for you to, like, okay, these are things that make sense to me. And when I saw that girl, I was like, this is something that I want for myself. And I wish she would hear this, honestly, because thank you. Like that helped a lot, and I'm sure you're helping so many people too. And you don't have to always change in very big ways. Something that you said to me on our previous call is that like there's a lot of power in the daily wins. And
Yes,
I know
small.
you wanted to say that.
I did. Yeah. Look, like little steps, small steps, like having the bravery to just get out of bed one day and then maybe the next week learning to get out of your bed and then fix your bed. And then the next week learning how to get out of bed, fix your bed, and like open the blinds. Like I think it's like society glorifies the big dramatic changes. Like, and
Yeah.
this, I like, granted, I did that. Like, I quit my job and I traveled the world. Like, they love the big dramatic things, but like, for every big dramatic thing, there are a million small microscopic steps that go behind that. Like, I swear to
Yes.
God, it took me 2.5 years to learn how to get out of bed and organize my room and fix my bed the moment I got out. And I still struggle with that. And like because it's a mental health thing. Like I used to wake up depressed almost every single day. And it took me so long to unlearn that. And that was like literally like 600 days of just me trying over and over again to get out of bed and feel happy and meditate and failing and feeling stupid and embarrassed. But it's like why does this like I feel so passionate that I'm like blocked. Have courage to be proud of yourself for small wins because that's not as normalized as I think it should be. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, high five yourself for getting out of bed. Yeah, high five yourself for like brushing your teeth and like showering even though you were like struggling emotionally, or high five yourself for like reaching out to a friend even though you wanted to isolate. Like, that's freaking amazing. And like, don't be afraid to try. Just every day try, even if like people are teasing you or you have this internalized like guilt for thinking that like this is easy for other people but it's hard for me. Fuck that shit. If you did that, that's awesome. And like, I'm cheering you on. And like, there's so many people that will cheer you on for those small steps. So do it. Small steps lead
I
to
love
big
that.
change.
Exactly. Like I think people don't understand that the small steps are what create the big steps. Like without the smaller things, the microscopic things like you were saying, we wouldn't be able to change our lives. It wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
It's like
Like,
every little step leading to that allows us to like suddenly like, whoa, this new version of me. But like, what about all the other days where we were just like going on and life seemed like everything was, the same, but actually there were like cellular things changing. Like at a cellular level, everything was like starting to shift.
yes, 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 yes. It's truly one of the greatest steps for achieving anything in life, healing or just achieving any goals is doing the small steps, being proud of yourself. Like, hell yeah. You know?
Yeah,
Uh,
I love that. This is such a nice conversation. Oh my God.
thank you for
So
having
fun.
me.
What did you say something?
Oh, I just said thank you so much for having me. Like genuinely, like it's so great to just speak with another person, another soul that like is genuinely like electrifying me and like lifting me up. And this conversation has truly lifted me up in a way that like I personally really needed because I was feeling a little bit like lower today.
Hmm.
And I think it's just like we talked about, it's so important to have a community of people. And even if you don't have a community of people, just like listening to like podcasts or books or following creators or like watching films that provide you the kind of energy that you
Yeah.
desire from your life. And I just want to thank you so much for creating this platform and like creating this space to share your light and to interview other people who share your similar energy. And it's just lighted up my day for sure, just having this
Yeah,
conversation.
mine too. Thank you. This was so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.